What's up, folks? What's up? T Smalls in the house.
What's going on, Mr. Palmer? How you doing, sir?
It is what it is on this beautiful Sunday in Jax, Florida, but you doing a little traveling right now. Welcome to the tree, my brother.
What's happening? What's happening?
How y'all doing today?
Man, we good, man. We good.
It is what it is. We have Pastor Fidel Donaldson in the house. The eagle has landed, as we say. Fly, eagle, what, Smalls?
Fly, eagles, fly.
Now, let me just do a minor correction there. Chickens don't fly, but eagles soar. average birds fly. The eagle's a rare bird. He soars.
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Soar, eagle, soar.
All right.
Smalls, give him a formal introduction.
Yeah, we talking under the tree. Hold up.
Smalls,
I ain't done yet.
Sing your song and welcome him home.
I ain't done yet. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be mine? Oh, won't you be mine? Won't you be? Can't you be? Please, won't you be my neighbor?
Is that from Mr. Rogers' neighborhood?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a beautiful day in the neighborhood today.
Cool.
Yeah, we love everybody. We're going to get straight into this thing. The last time we had you on here, a lot of things did not transpire. And now, at the end of 2020, a lot of things have transpired, and it's amazing, what's going on in America right now. I don't even think the coronavirus was out the last time we spoke.
No, definitely not. The coronavirus really hit the United States in around March of this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, something like that. And so many things. We had some more murders in the house. Number 45 is acting a little out of hand. And, as we witnessed the election just transpired, they called a race, yesterday?
Yep. Yesterday morning.
Yeah, yesterday morning. So Pastor Donaldson, we're going to, I don't know what you want to get into first, but we're going to go straight to 45.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to some people and they're mad at the Democrats, but what I told them was the Republicans technically voted them out of the House and the Democrats put the icing on the cake. In your opinion, what do you think happened?
So let me just say this quickly. I'm gonna give a disclaimer real fast, right?
Okay.
And my disclaimer is that the views of this guest, the bald eagle, does not necessarily reflect the views of Mr. Leander and T. Smalls. I'm gonna say that right now. But what I do wanted to say is this: I don't mince words, and I keep it real and tell it like it is. Now, I'm not expecting everybody to agree with me. That's understandable. But when you're listening to me, what I want you to ask yourself is, what I'm saying, are they facts? Are they based in truth and reality? Or are they my opinion? So what I'm going to say concerning 45, I'm speaking from the perspective of three different things. Number one, I consider myself an ambassador of God's kingdom, right? I don't use the term evangelical Christians because I think number 5 has tarnished that term. And I don't even use the term Christian anymore because you got Christian Confederates, you got Christian neo-Nazis, right? And you got Christian Klansmen. So I'm an ambassador of the kingdom. That's number 1. Number 2, I'm a black man living in America. And number 3, I am an immigrant. So for me, when I'm dealing with certain issues, whether political or otherwise, racism, systematic racism, institutionalized racism is a non-starter for me, right? So the perspective that I'm coming from with number 45 is, and I'm not just going to say number 45, I'm going to call out his name. Donald Trump as far as I'm concerned, is a white supremacist and a racist. And a white supremacist and a racist represents an existential threat to people of color, especially black people. So why do I think Donald Trump is a racist? I think Donald Trump is a racist based on words and actions that he has spoken and perpetrated. I can give you a litany of examples. I'm not going to go into the fact that it was reported in the New York Times that in 1927, Donald Trump's father was detained or arrested at a Ku Klux Klan rally. I'm not going to bother going into details about that because they didn't really have the evidence that he was a Klansman. But I will say this, Donald Trump and his father, their real estate company, was sued by the Attorney General in New York for discrimination against minorities. When 5 black males were arrested, or 5 males of color were arrested and charged with brutalizing a white female, Donald Trump put out a full-page article in the New York Times calling for them to get the death penalty. Eventually, they were exonerated by DNA, and Donald Trump refused to retract his call for them to be executed. But it's not just that. They have something in America called the birther conspiracy, which is saying that the first black man that got the presidency in the United States wasn't born here. But that's code word for blacks really don't belong here. My question to you is this: which black man can win the presidency and go into the White House without being completely vetted by all national security agencies, right? Or even the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, and even the local police? It can't happen. If you're a black man running for office, especially the presidency, you are going to be vetted like no other person before. Yet still, this is a conspiracy theory that Donald Trump, racist conspiracy theory that Donald Trump picked up right away, that Barack Obama was not born here. Then when he came down the stairs, the escalator in Trump Tower, what he said Mexicans are rapists, another racist statement. He went on to say that Haitians have AIDS, African countries are S-hole countries, etc., etc., etc. He sent coded language to the police that when you arrest them and put them in the paddy wagon and you're driving them all over the place and bouncing them all over, he called it a thing of beauty. That's what happened to Freddie Gray in Baltimore that killed him. Now in America, a person is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
You're supposed to have something called due process in America, right? You're not supposed to be killed and murdered because you're accused of a crime. So I can give you a litany of things that's come out of this man's mouth and actions that he is undertaking that makes me say that he is a white supremacist and he is a racist. And for somebody to try to defend him on that is untenable, because you can't defend him. You can't open up your mouth and say, oh, the media is picking on him like he's some paragon of virtue, right? Like he's some maiden of morality. What do you expect when you call Mexicans rapists? What do you expect when you send coded language to the police? Beat the crap out of them and I'll pay the bail money for you. So what I'm establishing is this, that because white supremacy represents an existential threat to me as a person, that there's no way that I could support a white supremacist. So people who are mad at the Democrats now will tell you, well, I'm mad at the Democrats. I'm not saying you have to vote for a Democrat. I'm not saying you have to vote for Hillary Clinton or vote for Joe Biden. What I'm saying is it is unconscionable for anyone to back a white supremacist, somebody that scapegoats poor people, scapegoats people who are coming from foreign lands looking for a better opportunity in the United States of America. And let me just go into something that's even more terrible than that. When people in his administration came up with the idea to take children even young children from their parents, even babies who were suckling babies on their mother's breast. They wanted to send a message to people to stop trying to get into the country by snatching the babies from them. Yo, that's some Nazi stuff right there. Straight up Nazi stuff. And when folks spoke up against that policy, they were saying, listen, no age is too young. In other words, even if they babies sucking on the breast, separate them from the mothers. Now, that's inhumane, and that's some crime against humanity stuff. Because my thing is, okay, you got to have borders and you got to have an immigration policy, but don't be snatching babies from their mothers. You know what I'm saying? This ain't got nothing to do with supporting Biden, supporting Hillary Clinton. Nah, what I'm saying is white supremacy, whether it manifests in the form of a judge sitting on the bench, a doctor working in a hospital, a teacher working in a school, or a president in the White House, a white supremacist, a racist is an enemy of mine because he represents an existential threat to me because of the color of my skin. And like a sister said on one of the talk programs today, she said, look, Democrats have not lived up to the black vote. I agree. But she said, and I agree, I could never vote for the same individual that the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan vote for. And before I turn it over to you, we got to remember this. Ku Klux Klan are the one that bombed the church, killing the black children, lynching black folks, burning crosses on their lawn. Let's not forget. So listen to me. People got reasons why they voted for Donald Trump. But straight up, some of our people that voted for him are coons, collaborators, house Negroes, and sellouts, period.
Do you two guys think that Donald Trump's going to try to find a judge that's going to sway the votes his way? Because I heard that that's what he's trying to do.
Well, I think, man, it ain't no way he can sway nothing right now. I mean, it is what it is. It's a done deal. I mean, it'll be crazy, man. I mean, he just need to go ahead and just realize the fact that, look, you got voted out, and you got voted out by the same people who was trying to back you. But when they felt like you was radical and all this, then they felt like they had to do something, man, to change the narrative. You know what I'm saying? And that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Right. Mr. Fidel.
Yeah, let me just say this quickly. More people voted against Donald Trump and voted for his opponent than for any other president in the United States of America, right? The history. So 74 million people, plus people voted for Joe Biden. You all over the United States of America, people are in the streets dancing, not necessarily because they're pro-Biden, but they recognize that 4 years of divisiveness, 4 years of dog whistles, race baiting, taking children from their parents. Over 500 children now, they can't find the parents for these children. And there's no judge in the United States of America that can give Donald Trump this election, because if they do, the whole country will be on fire.
I believe that. In my personal opinion, I think that after he gets, out of the chair, I think he's going to be put up on some charges.
Oh,
yeah.
Whoa,
that's basically it.
Whoa, yeah. Well, the New York City, I believe it's the Attorney General already. They're already investigating his organization. They're going to have to pay back millions and millions of dollars that they scammed New York City for. Let me just say this quickly. Let me just touch on evangelicals for a moment, right? There's something that's called striking what's called a Faustian bargain. And what that means is individuals who make a deal with the devil to get what they want. So you got evangelicals now that wanted to get conservative judges on the court so they could overturn Roe v. Wade, which legalized abortion. They want individuals now that could deal with gay marriage. So basically, they were willing to turn a blind eye to an individual who is a white supremacist, a racist, a pathological liar, who is hostile to poor people, et cetera, in order to get now the crumbs that he threw at them. And some of them were crazy enough to say that, well, God put him in power. Well, I ask you this, Brother Leander, if God put Donald Trump in power in 2016, does that mean that God fired Donald Trump in 2020?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he fired him.
Yeah, he fired
He sure did.
Well, my thing is like this. God never put him in power. Here's why. Because America is not a theocracy where God puts the leader in power. America is a democracy where people vote. So if God was to intervene in an election now, that means God would rig the election. That's number one. Number two, the Bible said that God hates liars. Donald Trump is a pathological liar. The Bible said, be careful how you treat the aliens and the strangers and the poor among you. Donald Trump was trying to, in his budget, was trying to cut money from school lunch program.
Yes.
Stuff that would affect the poor people, so he's hostile to the poor, which God is against. The Bible says pride cometh before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. Donald Trump is a man that's full of pride. So we don't see any type of characteristics now in Donald Trump. And I dare one of you who's a Trump supporter to even try to refute what I'm saying with facts, because the bald eagle's coming with straight up facts. I don't want your opinion. I want facts. And don't try to go over and say, well, Joe Biden, we ain't talking about Joe Biden. Joe Biden wasn't president in 2016, neither was Clinton. We talking about Donald Trump. Number one, let me ask you guys a question. Is hacking people's emails a crime?
As I know, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you hack into somebody's email, you can be arrested. It's a crime.
Yes.
Right.
Well, how about the Russians were using emails that they hacked into?
Yes.
And Donald Trump stands on national television and says, Russia, if you're listening, Russia is an enemy of the United States. Therefore, he's inviting an enemy now to come in and interfere in the election. So you tell me Donald Trump has no characteristics that resemble the characteristics of Christ. As a matter of fact, the characteristics that he has, pathological lying, hatred for the poor, racism, institutionalized, systemic, all of that, more closely remember something that is a reminder, not of Christ, but of something that is demonic. So how can evangelicals now? Well, I can understand why they might not want to back a Democrat because of the Democrat stance on abortion and gay marriage. But the question I have to ask you is, how can you back somebody now who is who sends out dog whistles and tell racists to stand back and stand by, who talks about encouraging his supporters to beat the crap out of people and they'll pay their legal fees, who talks about people being driven and banged around in a police wagon, a thing of beauty? Where is the characteristics and the fruit of Donald Trump that resembles Christ? That makes you as an evangelical a hypocrite, and it is a mockery and a stain on what you call Christianity.
That is correct. In the state of Arizona, Biden flipped it to Democrat, and I was watching the news, and it was confirmed from the information that I received that the great late John McCain was disrespected by Trump. I'm sure y'all know who that is, the senator who passed away, Vietnam vet, and he was a POW for 6 years. Mm. And he also walked around with a limp, a little slight limp,
right?
Because he was held captive. Trump started mocking him, and he said he was not a war hero. Mm-hmm. So Cindy McCain and his children, they made a personal vendetta to campaign in the state of Arizona to flip the state blue to Democrat, and showed him that they did not appreciate that.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, he said if you're captured, then you're not a hero. I mean, listen to me, man. I mean, people who are handicapped, he mocked them. You know what I'm saying? The man had no kind of decorum, no type of, and some people thought it cute in 2016, right? Some people thought, oh, so here's the thing in a nutshell. So here's why different people voted for Donald Trump. So the evangelicals, they thought, well, here is somebody that's going to be against abortion and help us to overturn Roe v. Wade. Here's the problem. Donald Trump in his years in New York City was a Democrat, and the platform was pro-abortion, right? So here's the problem now. Donald Trump sees an opportunity now because Barack Obama kind of roasted him and made fun of him. So he decides to run for president. He runs as a Republican now, right? So in order to run as a Republican now, he got to throw the evangelicals a bone. So what does he do? Of course, he's going to come out and say he's anti-abortion, he's anti-this. But here's the problem. He started pandering to the far right of the Republican Party, where you have the Ku Klux Klan, where you have the Confederate, where you have the neo-Nazis. And let's just be honest. You have a lot of individuals, 56 or 57% of whites voted for Donald Trump, right? In 2016, that election, although he said years ago, you know, he could run up on a woman and grab her by the pee and stuff like that. Some of the, I'm not talking about all, but I keep it real. Right. A lot of the Caucasians that'll get around you and I and oh, that's horrible. How could he say something like that? They went right into the booth and they voted for him. And I'm going to tell you why. There's something taking place in the United States of America called the browning of America. 9 Hispanic children are born for every 1 Caucasian child that is born. What's happening in America is in a certain amount of years, whites aren't going to be the majority. And they are paranoid now, right? That, oh, we can't have people of color running this country. So that's why they will buy into the presidency of a Donald Trump, even though they know he's a white supremacist. They know he's a bully. They know he mocks people. They know his campaign manager is a felon. And the only reason he's not in prison is because they let him out because of COVID. His attorney, who he gave the money to pay off a prostitute, is a felon. And he's out because of COVID. The assistant to his campaign manager, right? Convicted person, right? This other clown out of South Florida who he pardoned, convicted. Michael Flynn, all of them, they had to intervene not to get him convicted because there's something called projection. Projection is when you accuse somebody else of doing what you do. So on the campaign trail, he'll have his followers saying concerning Secretary Clinton, lock her up and she gonna be investigated. But it's really he is the one now that's going to be the most investigated president that ever sat in the White House. When he says I'm the least racist person on the face of the planet, that's because he's a racist. Now, when he was running, he said, I'm the only one that can fix it. In other words, I know more than the generals. I know more than the bankers. I'm the only one that can fix everything. Well, Donald Trump is going to be the first president in 90 years that's going to come out of office with more job losses than he came in with. Although when he came in as president, he came in under an Obama. Now, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying I'm a fan of Democrats. I'm just giving you facts.
Yeah.
When when they give the black man a job is when the team is just in the basement, right? I'm just going to be honest with you. So basically, in 2008, you had what's called the Great Recession, which basically it was the greatest economic collapse since the Great Depression. So they brought Barack Obama in. So he did certain things like with the auto industry in Detroit, when the Republicans say let it go under, no, he loaned them millions of dollars. They got the auto industry back and they paid the money back. So basically, they handed an economy over to Donald Trump that was growing and vibrant. And he has wrecked that economy. So my son was saying to me today, oh, it's because of COVID. So I said, why has America become the epicenter? Why doesn't South Korea, India, and other countries with lesser economy, why don't they have the same problem? Why? Because the man started out by saying it's a hoax. Even though he spoke to Bob Woodward, the journalist, and told him COVID-19 is dangerous. it can kill a lot of people. It can kill old and young. Then he comes out to the American people and says it's a hoax, right? And allow it now to get a foothold in the country. Millions of people out of work, over 200,000 people dead because of his benign neglect and his ineptitude. So people who threw their lot in with him because they thought he was such a great businessman, right? Now look at the economy now because of his handling of it. And I'm going to coin a phrase right here on this awesome podcast, because you know what? Money will never trump morality. No pun intended. Let me say it again. You thought, first of all, if you understood anything, you would have understood that Donald Trump's father poured about $400 million into his business enterprises, and he bankrupted most of them, and he got money from all oligarchs in Russia and all kind of crooked stuff. That's why he doesn't release his tax returns, right? Yeah. So he ain't as great a businessman when contractors used to do work for him. See, I grew up in New York City. So I'm not new to Donald Trump, and I'm not new to the devil called Rudy Giuliani, who started the stop and frisk policy in New York City and turned the police on black people in New York City. I tell it straight up like it is.
Yep.
Some people got
heard about that.
Some people got introduced to Donald Trump when he did The Apprentice or when he started running. No. I was in New York City when they arrested the Central Park Five. You see what I'm saying? And I say it again. You thought that all of a sudden he was going to be great for the economy. He inherited a good economy and had an opportunity to grow it to a better economy. We are the most sophisticated nation scientifically, militarily, economically, and otherwise.
Right.
He had an individual. The problem with Donald Trump is he came in power trying to undo everything that the first black president did because he's a racist.
Yeah,
so
that was on his mind. Yeah.
So there was a commission put in place by the Obama administration to deal with pandemic. He was briefed by the Obama administration and told that there would be a pandemic that was coming. You know what he did?
Yeah.
He dismantled the commission.
Right.
And then now you want to blame China. I don't give a hoot where it came from. Once it hits the United States of America, what's the plan? You know what the plan is? People should ingest bleach.
Oh no, I got another one. It'll just disappear.
Yeah. Oh, right. But you know what? It's part of a plan to reduce the population. That's all it is. So watch this now. So when you corner Trump supporters now and say, what kind of maniac is going to tell people, oh, he was joking? That's even worse. Yeah. You're in the midst of a pandemic that's threatening millions of lives. He turns around and he's talking to one of the doctors, not Fauci, but the female doctor. Yeah. And he's talking about ingesting bleach with a straight face. He wasn't kidding. See, these are the type of things that when you talk to these people now, they want to start jumping all over the place and conflating stuff. And we're going to get to the crime bill in a moment. Just keep going.
I want to give you a round of applause on that because you took the words right out of my mouth. As far as the economy, I had a conversation with some coworkers. And I said, Donald Trump inherited the economy. And I asked them specifically to name 3 things that Donald Trump did in his presidency that was for the positive. And guess what the answer is? Nothing.
Nothing. What are they going to say?
They didn't have an answer.
I mean, you pass a tax bill that's going to turn wealthy people wealthier. Right. I'm going to show you why God don't like ugly. Watch this now. You pass this tax. First of all, you cut corporate taxes way too low, way lower than even what they were under the Bush administration, right? Watch this now. So that's going to allow people who are already wealthy to become mega wealthy. And then you trying to cut school lunch programs? Come on. You trying to cut school lunch program and stuff that's going to benefit poor people. Now, let me tell you something. God gets upset when you try to afflict the poor. So what winds up happening now? You're talking about building a wall on the campaign trail and Mexico's going to pay for it. You failed. You talk about bringing back manufacturing jobs, you fail.
Yep.
You talk about bringing back coal jobs, you fail.
Yep.
You talk about you went to war with China and you fail. Why? Because now China stopped buying the soybeans and a bunch of farms are being foreclosed on, and you got to turn around now and use taxpayer money to bail out those farmers. You want to know what that's called? Welfare. That's right. White farmers in the Midwest, in the farm, they're getting welfare. You see, when poor people are getting money, it's called welfare.
Yeah.
When other folks are getting it, you call it stimulus.
Right.
No, listen to me. If you're expecting stimulus from the government, it's called welfare. And another thing that it's called democratic socialism. Yes, it is. When the government gives you a handout and a bailout, that's part of democratic socialism, and that's part of welfare. And some of the very, very people that's talking now against other people, you taking the welfare check. You didn't send the stimulus check back. You taking it. Right? Right? Watch
hey,
this
you know
now.
they ain't gonna send that back.
They ain't gonna send it back. You know what I call you? You a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Let me give you what, that's what I call you. You are a hypocrite. Let me just say this quickly. When, Barack Obama's mother died of cancer, right?
Right.
When a president is elected, right?
Right.
He or she can't really act unilaterally. That means they can't really act by themselves, because the way the founding father of this country set it up is that it's a checks and balance system. Right. Mitch McConnell out of Kentucky, out of his mouth, he says, I'm going to be working to make sure that Barack Obama does not get a second term. Right. The first major legislation that Obama undertook was the Affordable Care Act, right? Trying to get coverage for as much people as possible that didn't have insurance. Now, of course, Republicans are going to be against that because they're in league with Big Pharma. They're in league with insurance companies. They become lobbyists after they get out of office. So they don't want the masses to be able to get help when they got pre-existing conditions, right? So they launch a campaign against it. They try to overthrow it. But guess what? Mike Pence, when he was the governor of Indiana, he expanded Medicare or Medicaid, whichever one it is, so more people in a state can get the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, yet still now he stays quiet or he comes out and says, well, we got to repeal Obamacare. This is the hypocrisy that I'm talking about. And Mike Pence is supposed to be an evangelical Christian, and he stands there while his boss is lying and saying ungodly things. And you want to know what? During the debates, we saw a representative of Beelzebub, the Lord of the Flies, pick on his head and stay there. Listen, you ain't got to like the bald eagle, but I challenge you to meet me in a debate. Because I know one thing, I'm coming with facts. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming with facts. So watch this now. A lot of whites have the Affordable Care Act. 60% of America does not want it repealed. But if you go to them and say, do you like President Obama? Nah, we don't like Obama. Obama is a Muslim. Obama wasn't born in America. In the beginning, they didn't even realize that the Affordable Care Act was the same as Obamacare. But guess what? They don't want to lose their health care. They don't want to lose their health care.
That's right.
Hypocrites.
And another thing, when Obama passed the bill for the health care in his administration, he asked the Republicans to help him, and it wasn't quite right, where he wanted it. Now, Trump was in the chair for 4 years, and guess what? He did nothing, period. No plan.
Let me touch on this quickly. Now, so basically, because it's a checks and balance government now, when President Obama came in, I believe they had the House. In other words, they had the House of Representatives, a majority, and I believe they had the Senate also, right? Right. That's how he was able to push through the Affordable Care Act. So the Republicans went to war against it now, and then in his first midterm election now, I believe he lost the House and the Senate. That's in his second year. From that point on, Republicans decided they were going to obstruct everything that Barack Obama did. Part of that is because of racism. Now, some people said, well, you know what? You should have tried to talk to them. You can't talk to no racists. Huh? First of all, some people talk about the police that's murdering, and I don't want to go into too many different things. Police, like some of the police, right? They'll murder unarmed black person, right? And a lot of it is because they got racial animus. You can't give sensitivity training to a racist.
That's right.
You got to weed them out of the department. So basically now they wanted to make the first black president a one-term president and a complete failure. So what Obama had to do now is do a lot of things by executive order, like DACA and some other stuff by executive order, right? In order to get certain things passed. Look at the hypocrisy now. This is why we got to call out these liars and these hypocrites, and we can't mince word. Mitch McConnell comes out. We're 10 months before the Obama administration ends, right? Right. And Antonin Scalia, an arch conservative, dies. The president is supposed to nominate a replacement judge on the Supreme Court, and that judge is supposed to get a hearing. They wouldn't even meet with him. They're saying it can't happen during an election year. And this antebellum senator out of South Carolina named Lindsey Graham, he says, look, if Trump is in power and a place comes up on the Supreme Court and it's an election, we're not going to listen, or we're not going to try to appoint a judge. What do? It's 1 month before the election. And what does he do as the head of the Judiciary Committee? They ram through the nomination. Why? Because it is somebody, Judge Amy Coney Barrett was somebody that wrote like she wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And she was also one of two other lawyers, Kavanaugh being one, and Roberts being another, that worked for George Bush when it was Bush v. Gore and it came down to Florida. So Trump now thought it was going to be like 2000, that the election was going to be so close that it was going to go to court. What he didn't bank on was that more people was going to turn out to vote than at any other time in American history. Right. And the margins in certain places are just growing and growing and growing that you can't even contest it. Now, you got Ted Cruz and you got Lindsey Graham, right, kissing up to Trump. You want to know why? Because Trump is the most popular person in the Republican Party. So here's the thing. These people got ambitions on the White House. So they got to suck up to Trump now, even though they know he lost, because if they want an opportunity to have these right-wing racist folks to vote for them, they can't turn against Donald Trump. That's correct. This is the lie. This is the hypocrisy. This is the racism. And when you call it out, listen, I got folks, black and white, who stopped dealing with me, right? Wow. Let me tell you something. Wow. As long as breath is blowing in my vein, I'm never, ever going to stop speaking out against systemic, institutionalized racism, whether it be in the police department, in the criminal justice system, in hospitals and in schools. I'm going to speak out against it until the day I die. One more thing I got to say. Have you ever seen Trump? You'll see him in a meeting with pastors, and there's one particular pastor that's sitting up close to him. I ain't even going to call his name. He's the one that opened up his mouth and made this ridiculous, asinine statement that Donald Trump has done more for black folks than any other president. I'm not even going to go into that because it's so. Wow. Because I don't know. I don't know what a white supremacist can do for my benefit, right? When he's telling the Proud Boys, a white nationalist racist militia group who were plotting to kidnap, put on trial, and execute the governor of Michigan, Governor Whitmer. Now, if they're going to do that to a white woman, what you think they're going to do to me and you?
Right.
And
Right.
Trump is telling them, stand back and stand by. Watch this now. I heard from a good source that that particular pastor is being investigated because Trump was funneling money to him. So what I'm saying is a lot of these Negroes, they are coons. The last time I was on your program, I used the term that Malcolm X used to use. It wasn't house Negro. What they call it when they were on the plantation and Master's house was on fire, and they say Master Wee's house on fire. It's gonna come to me. It's gonna come to me. Yeah, but see, so you'll get an individual. I'm not gonna mention Kanye West because he's dealing with some schizophrenic things, right?
Right.
But Kanye West said slaves had a choice.
Yeah.
Ben Carson, who's a brain surgeon, says slaves are immigrants. Immigrants are people who come of their own volition, their own free will, looking for a better life, whether legally or illegally. Slaves were people who were brought to these shores in shackles and chains. Women were raped. Children were sold off. The limbs of men who tried to run away were hacked off. They were beaten until their backs were open. How dare you? How dare you talk about slaves were immigrants? Because you want to suck up to a white nationalist and a racist. You are a coon and you are a clown. And my name is Fidel Donaldson and I ain't taking nothing back.
That's what I'm talking about. Going back to the statement that the pastor made about Donald Trump did more for African Americans than any other president. He's talking about the historically black colleges, some funding that he's supposedly supposed to did what you call that order they signed, an executive order. A commentator on CNN got his hands on the bill. Guess what, gentlemen? It's a bad bill. In the bill, it states that they cannot teach black civics, black history, or anything along those lines, you know, that's related in their subjects when they teach college. So therefore, he didn't do nothing because I doubt it very seriously if any of those colleges are going to take any money because of those stipulations right there.
Now, here's the foolishness about that. Under the Obama administration, HBCUs got money from the Obama administration every year. The president does not control the purse strings. Congress controls the purse strings. The president does not make laws. Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate, they make laws. The president signs them into law, and he can veto it and they can override him by a 2/3 majority. The problem is we got people running their mouth who are ignorant of history, ignorant of economics, and ignorant of politics. Right. So Congress gave the funds or okayed the funds, which they did the same thing under the Obama administration all the way through, and the president just signed the bill. So if somebody's going to give me an example that because HBCUs got money, and you're going to tell me that Donald Trump did, first of all, I'm not no big fan of Lyndon Johnson, who took over for Kennedy, right? But Lyndon Johnson signed, he signed the civil rights law and made it official, right? That did a whole lot for blacks all over the United States of America, that legislation. Okay, so you gave money to HBCUs, historically black colleges and university. And that's how many blacks in the country, first of all, are attending college, right?
Right.
And I don't care if you gave money to HBCUs, when you send in dog whistles and coded messages to white supremacists and to police who police African Americans and Afro-Caribbeans and other people differently than they police white people. Can I tell you about Dylan Roof?
Yeah.
South Carolina. He shoots 9 parishioners in the church, and the police officer says, "Oh, are you hungry?"
Takes him to Burger King.
Yeah, they took him to Burger King.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the individual out in Colorado that shot up the movie theater and had all type of weapons, and they took him into custody without any problem. Now, one of the things you'll hear from some of the coons and some of the people who support racists is, so this first of all, let me just say this. If I consider a person a racist and a white supremacist, I call them a devil. So let me just say that. I don't mince my words, right? So this devil in a uniform has his knee on George Floyd's neck, and the man is calling for his mama and gasping for air, and the man is asphyxiated and suffocated because the weight of this man's body is down on his neck. And you know what? Some of these, I don't even know what to call them, because my blood boils when I think about this. You know what they're gonna say? Fentanyl killed him. Are you a moron or are you an idiot?
Yeah.
How come the fentanyl didn't kill him until this wicked individual had his knee on the neck? Then you know what some of these devils are gonna say? They got the black ones and white ones. Because if you support white supremacy, you a coon and you a devil too. I don't mince words when I talk, because lives are being snuffed out. You know what they're gonna say? Oh, you know what? He was a criminal. Excuse me. Under the Constitution of the United States of America, an individual is allowed to have due process.
Right.
If they're suspected of committing a crime, they need to get due process. The problem is now these people run around and talk about democracy, and they'll talk about due process when it's in their favor, right? But when a heinous murder is committed like that now, they'll say, oh, well, he was a criminal. Excuse me, whether or not he was a criminal, he is still entitled to due process. You are a liar and you are a hypocrite. And what Jesus said applies to you concerning certain people. Jesus said, you are a liar. You are of your father, the devil. He was a liar and he was a murderer from the beginning. That lets me know that there are individuals on this planet who have a demonic nature, and some of the manifestations you'll see in it is, you'll see they're pathological liars, and they love guns. They love guns.
Right.
And guess what? Listen, they don't like me. I don't care. They call themselves evangelical Christians, right? They call themselves Christians. They got a Bible in one hand and they got a Confederate flag in the other. And what that flag stands for, it stands for the enslavement of people of African descent, their subjugation, their murder, and their rape. And last time I checked, I'm of African descent. So anyone who's a white supremacist and a racist and their supporters are enemies of mine.
It's a common courtesy in the White House that all past presidents have their picture hung up. It's like a painting of personal portrait.
Yeah, it's like a ceremony.
Yeah, Donald Trump is the only president in U.S. history that did not hang up the previous president's picture.
Well, why would he when he's a racist?
Yeah. And
he said the man wasn't born in America.
Right.
You can't get to the White House if you're not born in America.
They said that.
You have to be born in America to be president of the United States of America. You might be able to go in the Senate. You might be able to go in the House of Representatives. So if he doesn't believe Barack Obama is born in America, why? If you think the person's presidency is illegitimate, why would you put up their picture?
Right. I'm going to do a little Trump imitation. When he campaigns, me and Smalls talked about this, I think. I've never heard him talk about policy. It's like a trash talking campaign.
Yeah.
You can do it freestyle. The United States has a lot of storms. Trump is the man. Obama has on red shoes. And he had green ones last week. He got them from Family Dollar. That's how he campaigned. Am I right or wrong?
Right. You're right.
Let me, you know something? I thank God for this platform.
Right.
Let me tell you something. The bald eagle speaks things that folks are thinking but are afraid to say. Now, I'm not a communist, but I was named after Fidel Castro. I'm a revolutionary, right? That's what I was named after.
Right.
So what they try to do, so let me just go to this quickly. The man has no policy. America traditionally has always looked for a great white hope. And especially coming off of a black man's presidency now, they wanted a great white hope in the office. So it doesn't matter if this individual now doesn't know that bigly is not a word. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he's giving a speech and he's saying, oh, you know what? I feel sorry for the people of Puerto Rico and for the president of Puerto Rico. Excuse me, Puerto Rico is a commonwealth, and a Puerto Rican that's born in Puerto Rico is an American citizen.
Right.
You are their president.
Yeah,
so
right.
people are they're willing now to bypass the fact that this man does not have the aptitude. All they're focusing on, oh, this man is a businessman and he can make the economy better. And then he begins to run on these racist trope now, right? Because what you got to understand is this. And listen, Democrats lost me when they voted to go to war in Iraq. You dig what I'm saying? Right. When they made a buffoon out of Colin Powell trying to say that Saddam Hussein was getting his chemical weapons of mass destruction from Niger, which the CIA and the Bush administration knew were lies, but they wanted to control the oil. So they went and bombed these people, right? And the Democrats went lockstep with it. And one of the few individuals in the Senate that voted against it was Barack Obama. One of the few individuals. So when I'm talking, what people like to say, well, oh, but Hillary Clinton is this and Joe Biden is that. Listen to me. What I'm trying to get you to understand is this. I'm not saying you should vote for Hillary Clinton. I'm not saying you should vote for Joe Biden. What I'm saying is it's hypocritical to turn the blind eye to an individual who opens up his mouth and coddles white supremacists, coddles racists, that when in Virginia, when a white girl is run over and there are neo-Nazis marching and there are people opposing them, you're going to say that they're good people on both sides.
Yeah.
So what you saying? They're good neo-Nazis? They're good Klansmen? Well, these are the people that's trying to kill me and trying to call me. Listen, I don't use the N-word because that's not what they're calling us. These are the people that's calling me nigger and trying to kill me and people that look like me. And you talking about that they're good people? Listen, I'm not. Listen, you got individuals like Shaq. I call out names. You got individuals like Lil Wayne, right? Individuals who, when it comes to fighting against racism, you never see them out in the forefront. But all of a sudden, they back in Donald Trump. You want to know why? Because they are in a tax bracket. They are multi-millionaires. So when Trump passes tax bill, they're going to benefit from it, right? At least 50 Cent came out and says, hey, I'm backing Donald Trump because of taxes. At least he was honest, right? So these individuals will come out now and they'll say, I'm voting for Donald Trump. But guess what? I ain't selling my soul to no white supremacists. I don't care how much tax break I can get. Because I got to think about George Floyd. I got to think about Tamir Rice. I got to think about Amadou Diallo in New York, who was shot 40-something times. Y'all young people, I got to think about Eleanor Bumpus when the police rushed into her apartment in the Bronx and killed her.
Rashad Brooks.
Trayvon Martin. I got to think about Ahmaud Arbery. You know why? Because I got to think about Sandra Bland, who was going to Texas to her alma mater to get a job, and the white officer pulled her over and wanted her to come out of the car. And of course, she said no. She didn't break no law like that, right? Next thing you know, they find her hanging in the police station. I got to think about Eric Garner, who was selling Lucy cigarettes, a quality of life crime that's worthy of a ticket. And all of a sudden, he's caught on camera and he's saying, I can't breathe. And the officer's using an illegal chokehold, kills him, and doesn't even get indicted by the grand jury because the prosecutors and these grand juries are in cahoots with some of these racist police officers. Can I bring up Philando Castillo?
Sure.
Hey, Rashad Brooks.
Rashad Brooks. Philando Castillo is driving home. He works in the school cafeteria. He has his daughter and the daughter's mother in the car, and he's pulled over, I think, for a broken taillight. Right? And he does what he's supposed to do. He has a licensed firearm in the glove compartment. And according to the law, I think it was Wisconsin, you're supposed to announce to the cop, first of all, I ain't telling no cop that I got no firearm in the glove compartment. You know what the cop does? As soon as he mentions it, he starts to open up inside of the car with the child and with his child's mother in the car.
Yeah.
And the grand jury let them off. And you, devil, you coon, you're going to try to tell me that policing in the United States of America in the black community is the same as policing in the white community? Huh? Don't sell your soul. Do not sell your soul, because when they come, you think they're going to let you off the hook? Huh?
Nope.
No. Your black skin is going to be the thing that they're looking to subjugate you. Go ahead, man, because y'all got me riled up on this program, yo.
Hey, man,
No, you good.
You telling it like it is.
Like you said, you wanted to touch on the crime bill a little bit before we get off of here.
So let me touch on the crime bill, because I notice a lot of people when they're talking, and let me tell you something. When I'm touching on the crime bill, I'm not saying I'm pro-Biden, right? But I got to spit facts out. So let's understand. Let's get back to a government of checks and balances again. In the United States of America, a senator cannot act unilaterally and decide that, hey, I'm just going to pass a crime bill. Let's put it in. Now, let me explain something to you. I believe that the criminal justice system where black people in this country is corrupt, right? Because it's not, justice is not blind in the United States of America. Let's get that straight. The criminal justice system where black people are concerned does not operate with equity and justice. But let's deal with the crime bill. It was a horror story, right? But let's put it in the context. During the 80s and 90s, there was a proliferation of crack cocaine in the black community. Put in there, cocaine was flooded into the black community by the CIA in a program called the COINTEL program. So you had hypocrites like Richard Nixon earlier, and then you had other hypocrites that came up behind him that was saying war on drugs. That wasn't a war on drugs, a war on the black community. Now, let me explain something to you now. So the Republicans were saying that the Democrats were soft on crime, because to lock them up and throw away the key party has always been the Republicans. Lock them up, build more jails, throw away the key. Now, again, I dare anybody to challenge these facts. Now, Leander, you and T. Smalls are very young. So I'm going to take you back now into the late 80s, going into the 90s. There's a lot of murders that's happening in the black community, the proliferation of crime, right? There's a basketball player by the name of Len Bias. He's going to the University of Maryland. He's a star player. He's drafted by the Boston Celtics. He's getting ready to make the NBA. He's having a party with his friends before, and he overdoses on cocaine.
1986.
T. Smalls, you're dating yourself, brother.
Yeah.
So the black community now is up in arms now, right?
Right.
So they're living in the war zone now. So the Congressional Black Caucus, black pastors, and black people in the community came to the Congress and said, you got to do something about this, right? This is what they said. They asked for it. Now, here's what I'm saying. When you got problems in the black community, don't run to the government.
Right.
Mobilize and try to work it out yourself, because the government is not for you, right? They've never been proven. Democrats are not really for you, but you know Republicans are not for you, because when you look at Ku Klux Klan, Confederates, and neo-Nazis, Grand Wizards, whatever, they're part of the Republican Party. And you don't hear Republicans in mass, even evangelical Christians, standing up and crying out against racism unless they're forced to. So they turned a blind eye to it, you'll hear them talking about abortion, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when a black child or a black adult is murdered, you don't hear them out in full force saying, hey, listen, we got to do something with this criminal justice system. No, absolutely not. They don't say. So the people rose up in the black community now and demanded that the politicians do something. Now, here's the problem. The Republicans were running on the fact that the Democrats were soft on crime. So Bill Clinton now wanted to prove to the Republicans that he was just as tough on crime as they were. So he flew to Arkansas and he had a black guy who had the IQ of a child and who was mentally challenged. He received the death penalty because Clinton wanted to prove that he was tough on crime. This is one of the reasons why blacks stayed home in 2016, because they were not going to vote for Hillary Clinton, and I don't blame them. Biden, I believe, probably was head of the committee. I don't know what committee it was, right? And yeah, he signed it, and he got to be held to task for that. But he did apologize for it, so you got to give him some credit for that. And I'm not saying I'm pro-Biden. I'm just spitting out the facts. He stood up last night in a speech and says, we have to do something against systematic racism in America. Now, let me just give you an example. Your house is on fire, right? Your house is on fire. And you need help getting out the fire. And two individuals show up. One of the individuals is telling you, you know what? Man, do your best to get up out of that house, man. But the other individual got a canister of gasoline that he wants to pour on your house while it's on fire. Which one of those individuals represents an existential immediate threat to you, T. Smalls?
The one with the gas can pouring it on your house with the fire.
Donald Trump is the one with the gas can. That's why he called Mexicans rapists. That's why he said the first black president wasn't born yet. That's why he said when police are driving and have a suspect in the paddy wagon and banging them around, he called it a thing of beauty. Guess what? Wow. That's what they did to Freddie Gray in Baltimore and killed him.
Yep.
Sure so did. He represents an existential threat now to black people immediately. I don't care how much money he gives to the HBCU, because at the end of the day, he's a racist, but he's a racist politician. So he can't just be blatantly, he got to throw some crumbs at black people, yeah. Right?
Right.
Right. But you ever hear him mention the name of George Floyd?
Nope.
You ever hear him mention the name of Breonna Taylor?
Nope.
You ever hear him mention the name of Ahmaud Arbery?
Nope.
Of course not. What he'll say is, man, the police are doing a fantastic job.
You got him down.
You got it down pat, man. Right.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yo, if one of these people trying to come at me, they better come correct. You better know your statistics. You better know your history. You better know your facts. I don't want your opinion. I don't want you jumping all over the place talking about apples one moment and then you talking about giraffes. Because, listen, I'm laying out facts. Now, people love to say, oh, the media hates Donald Trump. The media hates this. When Donald Trump opens up his mouth and says Mexicans are rapists, and Obama wasn't born in America, and the media reports on it, what do you expect? We hear it out of his mouth. We ain't crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening in America is you got a cult-like personality in Donald Trump, right? And he got sycophants. That means like followers that no matter what he does. This is why this man can say, I can come out on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody. Yeah, look at the example that he gives.
Yeah, he said
he's not even hiding it.
Yeah.
I can come out on Fifth Avenue
and telling it.
Shoot somebody, and my supporters ain't never going to leave me. You know why they're never going to leave him? Because when they look at him, neo-Nazis, Ku Klux Klansmen, right, Confederates and other races can say, well, we got a friend in the White House. And that's the bottom line.
Right. That is correct.
Let me know when you're ready for Black Lives Matter.
I'm ready for it now, but I'm going to give you a hand of applause real quick because you broke that down. So I had to tell that, you know what I'm saying? All right.
Now remember, a lot of folks are going to come at you because of this now.
All right, hit it.
But one thing, now because of what we're doing here, but one thing I dare any of them to do is challenge the truthfulness of what I am saying. Now, Here's the deal now. So, because I was going at it with my son earlier, because my son is of the view that, hey, I'm not handing my votes to Democrats for no Cheetos. Democrats gonna have to do something for black people, right? So what I'm saying to him is, right, the same analogy that I gave you. Listen, if the house is on fire and an individual is coming with the gas canister, that's the individual I got to stop first. Because if I don't stop him, the house going to be destroyed now with my family in it. So here's the talk now. I think Black Lives Matter. So they'll say, well, you know, the police were shooting people under the Obama administration. Well, here's my answer to that. Police shoot people, sometimes unarmed people, under all administrations. The difference is somebody that's trying to put policies in place now to deal with this kind of problem in the police department, and somebody who's egging on the police by saying, rough them up. Donald Trump is the one egging them on, so he becomes an existential threat to me. So I believe it was when Michael Brown was killed and his body was like laid out in the street for like 9 hours. I believe either him or Trayvon Martin was around the time that Black Lives Matter got started. So what you hear people saying, well, Black Lives Matter was started by you know, two lesbians and they're feminists, and then they got this other conspiracy, especially evangelical Christians. They got this boogeyman that they call George Soros, who's a billionaire, and he's funding Antifa. Let me just say this: any group that's bringing attention to unarmed blacks being murdered by the police, any group that's willing to go and hit the streets and put themselves on the front line working against the enemy of racism are individuals I can work with. You see, because the enemy of my enemy is somebody that I can work with, as long as they're not just so egregious in what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So here's another question. I asked T. Smalls before, so I'm gonna ask you now, Brother Leander.
Okay.
I like to use a house on fire analogy.
Okay.
Right? And I'm not going to take credit for this. My son Mario, shout out Mario. I think he got it from one of his friends. So the house is on fire, right?
Right.
Beautiful house in a nice community is on fire. You got your possessions in the house. I think your Rottweiler's in there chained up. And you hear the fire department coming. And they get on the street. But the problem is they're across the street talking to the neighbor.
Wow.
So your house is burning now, but they're talking to the neighbor. So what are you going to do? You're going to be yelling, hey, my house is on fire. I need you to come out here, you know, and they're going to look at you and say, well, Leander, your house ain't the only house on the block that matters. All houses on this block matter. You know what you're going to think? You're going to say, this person's out of their cotton picking mind.
Right.
My house is the one that's on fire.
Right.
My house is the one that matters right now. I need you to deal with my house now because it is the house that's on fire. Right. We know in the larger scheme of things that all houses matter.
Right.
All lives matter. The problem is when you turn on the evening news, 99.9% of the time, you hear an unarmed person shot or killed by the police. It's a black person. So for the black person in the criminal justice system dealing with certain police, the house is on fire. So we don't want to hear about all lives mattering when the people that's being murdered are the people with black skin. So that's the analogy of the house. So here comes now. So now they're saying, well, Black Lives Matter, not really black people. Watch this now. You know, because it started by feminists and they're gay. Back to you, T. Smalls. The house is on fire. And here comes the fire department again, right? Now, instead of the neighbor's house, they realize that your house matter. They pull up in front of the house and they're getting ready to raise the ladder. Are you going to look out and say, hey, before you do anything, I want to know what your sexual preference is?
Nah, you ain't gonna do that. You want them to go ahead and say this house.
I don't care what your sexual preference is. I'm trapped in the house that's burning and I need you to get me out.
Yeah.
And
Right.
after you get me out, you can go about your business. I'm going to go about my business. You know why they say stuff like all lives matter? And you know why they bring up all this other stuff? They're trying to cause a distraction. They want to distract you from the fact that this officer had his knee on George Floyd's neck, right? And that he had X amount of citations now for doing things against people of color. They want to distract you from the fact that the officer that jumped out of the car and pumped bullets into Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old who had a toy gun, right? That another police department fired him for stuff that he did against minorities. See, they don't want us talking about that. They want us talking about looting. Well, here's the thing. When people come out on the streets to protest, some of these white nationalist groups infiltrate now, and they'll set buildings on fire because they want to stir up and make protesters look bad and start a race war. But listen to me. Some of us here ain't believing the hype, and we ain't falling for the okie doke. Because we understand that if you want to know the fruit, you got to get to the root. Listen, first of all, we're not saying defund the police and destroy the police. That's not what we're saying. No, we'd be crazy. We're law-abiding people. But we do understand that what Michelle Alexander wrote in her book, Mass Incarceration in the Time of Color Blindness, is true. You notice you'll hear the president using the words law and order?
Yes.
Most Republican presidents use it. He used it. Reagan used it. Nixon used it. So people hearing the word law and order think, so they'll flash now scenes of looting and they'll say, we need law and order, right? Like when the president says, suburban women vote for me. He's talking about white women.
Right.
I'm protecting your neighborhood, meaning I'm not allowing them to build low-income houses in your neighborhood where blacks and Hispanics gonna be. So those are coded. So watch this now. When you hear Trump and some of these other white supremacists who are running for office using the coded language, law and order, they're not just talking about fighting crime. That term came about during the civil rights movement. When Martin Luther King, Fannie Lou Hamer, Rosa Parks, and others were fighting and protesting for civil rights, those racists now and segregationists now looked at them as criminals, not as people protesting for their rights. So they needed a coded language now to tell other people, especially white people, that we got this under control. So that's why you'll hear them mention law and order. Right. Has nothing to do with fighting crime.
Right.
What it means is keeping blacks in the inner city in check. So another thing you'll hear some black people saying is, because they're buying into this distraction, oh, blacks are killing blacks in Chicago, right?
Right.
You tell me, what the heck does a black person shooting another black person in Chicago have to do with a policeman murdering an unarmed citizen? We got to get together in the community of Chicago and find a way to get these individuals now to start respecting one another. But guess what? Most of us don't live in Chicago.
We don't.
What I'm trying to say to you is, in any state in the United States of America, they got something called driving while black. That means for a minor offense like rolling through a stop sign or maybe not having your lights on, a policeman will pull you over. And instead of giving you a ticket, all of a sudden now you'll hear, oh, he's reaching for a gun. He's reaching for pop, 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 pop. That's the difference. That's the difference. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what we've been, it ain't that we anti-police. We're anti-white supremacists and we're anti-racist, whether they're in the White House or whether they're in the squad car. Because guess what? We don't hate people, but we love and respect our people.
Right.
And we're just asking for a level playing field like anybody else have in the United States of America. Watch this now, T. Smalls, before I turn it over, because I know we're going long. Watch this now. When certain people protest and loot and riot, they call them freedom fighters. Let me take you back to the War of Independence in America, when the 13 colonies revolted against England who was in control of the territory.
Right.
We learned about the Boston Tea Party, right? Where they went on ships and they looted and burnt it. But every 4th of July, we celebrate Independence Day. We celebrate those people looting and shooting and killing.
Yep.
When a black person stand up and said, listen, black lives does matter. We're not saying that other people's lives don't matter. We're saying the criminal justice system needs to be fixed. We're saying that there is systemic racism in different quadrants and stratas of society, including the police department. And we're not just going to keep marching and keep rolling over and allowing ourselves to be murdered. All of a sudden, we're labeled as thugs. All of a sudden, we're labeled as Antifa. But when they were trying to get independence from England and burning and looting and killing, they're celebrated as freedom fighters. So let me tell you something. What some of these racists will say, because I'm an immigrant, right? They'll say, "Oh, why don't you go back to your own country?" Well, here's my answer. You tell me a non-European country on this planet where the tentacles of white supremacy and colonialism has not plundered, underdeveloped the economy, pillaged, raped, and murder. When you tell me that and explain that to me, how hundreds of years of slavery built up this country so they can enter into the Industrial Revolution off of the backs of black people, how the lands were taken from the indigenous people, how we went to war against Mexico just for the purpose of taking their lands under the manifest destiny. Listen to me. Folks got to stop believing a lie. Let me tell you what they do in this country. The 1% that really rule this country and are behind all presidents. Presidents are mostly figureheads. It's people behind them that set the tone. But watch this now. What these people will do, they will convince poor white people that blacks and other foreigners are their enemy. It's a classic divide and conquer.
Right.
So they understand if these people ever rise up, like Voltaire and the others rose up during the French Revolution and took Marie Antoinette and beheaded her and overthrew the monarchy, that's their nightmare. Their nightmare is that working class whites and poor whites are going to come together with colored folks, and they're going to say, listen, we're not going for this system anymore where you are a multi-billionaire and we can't even have a living wage. So what they do now, they do the classic divide and conquer. This is why you'll see uneducated whites in rural area now, they'll vote for Donald Trump, right? But he doesn't return any manufacturing jobs. He doesn't return coal jobs.
Nope.
He doesn't do anything for the infrastructure because he has no policy. He came in power to enrich his brand and to enrich his family. He doesn't really have any policy. He just used scare tactics now, and he's a master at dividing people. So he does these things now, right, to turn people against one another, and then you got, like I said, some evangelical Christians and some black people now who are willing to turn away from the oppression. First of all, let me ask you a question. If I come from people who were enslaved in the Caribbean, and you descended from people who are enslaved in America, you think I'm gonna look down on my nose on some immigrant just because they're trying to get a better life? Even if you got to stop them from coming in the country, you got to treat them humanely, right?
Yeah.
My forefathers were enslaved. My forefathers didn't have an opportunity to come as an immigrant. They were shackled. But
right.
you got some. Let me give you this last one, and I'm finally turning it over.
Before you say that, I'm going to say that Donald Trump is actually full-blooded German American. Go ahead.
His mother was an immigrant.
That's right.
Right? And I believe she might have came
here.
Or
his grandfather, one of them was. They're German.
His mother, exactly.
Germany.
Go exactly.
Ahead. Go
ahead. And he's more the type of German that was for Nazis. Yes. So let me put that out there. So let me show you something now that's absolutely ridiculous. So now the Cubans now, down in South Florida, the older ones, they vote Republican all the time. So now joining them now is the Venezuelans, right?
Right.
The Democrats now will paint it as socialists. So the Cubans, the Venezuelans, the Colombians are freaking out, right? They say, "Oh no, we gotta vote for Donald Trump." So here's the problem, though. You're talking about Biden as a socialist, but you got a man in the White House who's an autocrat, acting like a dictator, who loves and coddles Vladimir Putin, who's a communist.
Yep.
So if you're so much against socialism and communism, how are you voting for a man who never has anything bad to say about Russia and about Putin, who are staunch communists? That's the hypocrisy that I'm talking about. You see what I'm saying? That's the madness that I'm talking about. And again, if you want to come on this podcast and challenge, the term that I used the last time was the term Uncle Tom.
Yes, yes.
So historically, Uncle Tom was an individual who has favorability in history.
Yeah.
But here's the difference. We know that according to etymology, words and language change over time. So in the 50s now, and I believe, in about the 50s and the 60s, Malcolm X started to use the term Uncle Tom to refer to Negroes who was so glad that master allowed them to come into the house that they wanted to maintain the system at all costs. So a brother challenged me in the way that I use Uncle Tom. But the way that word is used changed when Malcolm X started giving a lot of his speeches. So I don't even use that no more, but I will say coon and I will say house Negro. Because anytime you want to back a white supremacist, a racist, an individual now who disrespects the continent of Africa by saying S-hole countries, disrespect Haitian people by saying they have AIDS, asking his lawyer which one of, can you think of one country that's run by a black person that's not an S-hole country? When you do that, listen to me. You're an enemy of mine, Fidel, because my forefathers come from the continent of Africa.
That's
you
right.
understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And you ain't telling the whole truth. Because first of all, you gather America with your European consorts and you use economic strangulation now to keep these countries underdeveloped because they won't kowtow to you. Because if you had a fair and balanced system, the countries of the world would be able to come up. So you use economic racism and strangulation. And let me end with this. It is impossible for you to have melanin in your skin and be inferior to anybody.
That's correct.
Impossible.
That's right.
Impossible.
We appreciate you, man. We appreciate you. You're right.
Don't believe the hype.
We're going to give you a round of applause as usual. We appreciate that, man.
Yo, P. Smalls, they freaking out because they're saying, I use Ambassador Kingdom. Oh, they saying, oh, you a man of God and you talking like that? Jesus was a revolutionary.
Yes.
When he came into the temple and they were defiling it with money changes, he didn't say, oh, let's pray and fast. He turned the tables over, buying courts together, and he whipped them and got them out of there. And he said, my Father's house is a house of prayer, and you have made it a den of thieves. Don't think because we call ourselves ambassadors of the kingdom or Christians, that means we're going to let people walk over us. We're going to let them kill our women. We're going to let them kill our children. And we're just going to stand by and not say anything. Cotton picking mind. No, we're going to cry out against racism, police brutality, no matter who's supporting it, evangelicals or other people. Listen to me. If you're supporting white supremacy, you are an enemy of people of color.
And that was fire. The eagle has landed. Hey, matter of fact, real quick, how your book doing on the charts, man?
Yo, listen, man. You and T. Smalls need to support this book, yo. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Man, yeah, definitely. I got to get that.
I'm calling y'all out on your own program, yo.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yo, listen, man, a lady contacted me from Pennsylvania the other day, man, and she wrote me like, it was almost like 3 pages, yo. You see a lot of things I'm discussing? It's in this book. It's laid out in this book. In the King's Prison, A Journey to Divine Freedom. Listen, y'all. Individuals are reading this book in prison. They're getting illuminated. They're getting liberated, right? You want to support this book? Go to Amazon. If you got a family member or a friend incarcerated, go to Amazon, order this book, put the address of the institution, put their name, put their number, and have them ship it. If you would like a copy of this book, contact me via Facebook. I'm listed under Fidel Donaldson. And I wanted to say this finally before we close. T. Smalls and my brother Leander. I wanted to say this quickly to the people. Listen, I don't have hatred in my heart, right? I don't have bitterness in my heart just like that against people, right? But I hate the scapegoating of the poor. I hate racism and bigotry and people that sow discord and division. I hate people who bully other people, you know, basically because they got the power to bully people. And I tell you something. Okay, Donald Trump got in power, right? He's president now, or was. We want people to succeed because if they succeed, it's better for the country. He had an opportunity to govern from the center. Even if he governed to the right of center, he had an opportunity. He might have lost some of the races, but he could have made up other ground. He could have made up other ground, right? He had that opportunity, but he chose to continue with the racist dog whistle. He wasn't interested in policy. And in the manner that Nero twiddled his thumb while Rome burned under the great fire, while the fire of COVID-19, the coronavirus, was decimating the United States of America, Donald Trump was tweeting and talking about it's a hoax. What I'm saying is, we as a people got to stand against injustice and unrighteousness. Can you imagine if evangelicals would have just stood up and said, Mr. President, what you're saying and doing is ungodly, and we cannot support anything that remotely speaks of racism and castigating poor people? Maybe he would have got a revelation and say, you know, even though I don't think so, he would have said, you know what? I can't afford to lose this block of voters. I got to change my way. But you know, the sad part about it is, and history is going to remember these evangelicals for that. They never stood up. They never stood up with a voice. They wanted to try to justify and gloss over some of the most heinous things that he said about other races, some of the policies that he wanted to erect. But where's all the campaign promises? He said Mexico was going to build. You're going to build a wall in Mexico.
Yeah, where the wall went at? The wall ain't never got built.
You built 3 miles of it. 3 miles. That's it.
And you took money from the military to pay for it. I thought the Mexicans were going to pay, because on the campaign, you're a snake oil salesman. That's what you are. And you are a confidence man. And evangelicals struck a Faustian bargain with you and sold their souls. And you want to know the pathetic thing about it is? He stacked the courts with conservative judges.
Yes.
And most of the time they voted against him.
Yes. Guess what? Guess what?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you who this is, but it was one Republican senator stuck to his grounds the whole time against Donald Trump to this date. Guess who that was? Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney said from day one that Donald Trump is a fraud. And till this day, he says the same thing 4 years later. He never, he didn't back down.
Yeah, never. He didn't back down. And you had Jeff Flake out of Arizona, the senator. I mean, he wasn't going to run for another term, but he came out, and then you had Bob Corker out of Virginia. But what I'm saying to you, my brothers, is this. What I'm saying to you is this. People who call themselves evangelical Christians, right? How could these particular people, first of all, even if you support him in the beginning, right? You support him in the beginning because you want the judges, you want this or that. But then when you see some of the stuff that he's doing and saying, how could you not stand up with one voice and said, hey, I want to share something with you quickly.
Okay, go ahead.
concerning abortion and gay marriage. Now, as an ambassador of the kingdom, I stand where the Bible stands, that life begins at conception, right? I'm saying that, right? Number two, I believe God's plan for marriage was between a man and a woman. I believe that as a kingdom ambassador. But let me just explain something to you. And I need everybody to listen to this. When a woman conceives and gets pregnant, whether legal or illegal, the woman is going to make the choice whether or not she carries that baby. Not even the man can make the decision for her. She is going to make that decision whether you like it or not. Okay. An individual of a certain ilk or sexual preference, they are going to make the decision who they cohabit with. Okay, yeah, maybe a law shouldn't have been passed for certain people to get married, but at the end of the day, people are going to make a decision who they want to go with. And if they couldn't get married one place, they'll go another place to get married. So you got the woman making the choice when it comes down to an abortion, and you got the gay person deciding who they want to marry. Guess what? When I was born with this skin color. And when people want to discriminate against me and other people that look like me because of this skin color, not that if I had a choice, I want to be another color, because my son ran up on me the other day because I got a little bit mellow. And he says, Dad, when we were younger, you taught us to say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, right? So what I'm saying to you is, a woman, abortion is a choice that a woman will make. Gay marriage is a choice that somebody make.
Yeah.
Color of this skin is not a choice. I'm born with it. And we know there's racism in America. We understand that, and we've been fighting about it for years. The problem is the president of the United States has what's called the bully pulpit. It is the greatest platform in the world. And when he calls Mexicans rapists, when he says the black president wasn't born in America, and when he says other things, stand back and stand by, I mean, the man is so divisive that he makes wearing a mask political, right?
Yeah.
Just to divide the country. Watch the danger of it now. So when it's getting out of control in Michigan, the woman is trying to enact measures to contain it. He comes out of his mouth and he says, liberate Michigan. And what do the white nationalists do? They're planning to kidnap, put the woman on trial, and murder her. And you don't hear evangelical pastors standing up and saying, we're not going to tolerate that anymore. They're silent. Because when evil is happening, right, and people are silent, they're complicit. When Hitler was murdering the Jews and other people that he considered unwanted, the church in Germany kept quiet. Other countries kept quiet, right?
Right.
Donald Trump. I want to ask you a question. Remember when it was all about building walls and immigration and MS-13 and coyotes and all kind of people were coming over?
Yeah.
That's when Donald Trump talked about S-hole countries.
Yes.
Do you know why Donald Trump asked the questions, why can't we get more immigrants from Norway?
Why is that?
T. Smalls, not to put you on the spot. Why didn't he say, why can't we get more immigrants from Italy or France or England? Why did he say, and he said it, he said, I heard him, he said, why can't we get more immigrants from Norway? I'm going to tell the evangelicals, I'm going to tell everybody listening, because the Nazis believed that the purest Aryans, the superior race, came from Norway.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Man.
See, we dropping truth tonight.
Yes.
We dropping science. We dropping history that folks don't know.
And knowledge.
And now knowledge and understanding, like the 5%ers used to say back in the days as we build in a cipher. But what we dropping it, why he's saying We don't want immigrants from these S-hole countries in America. We want them from Norway because Norway is the place where the Nazis believe the purest Aryans came from. So the individual that is the policy advisor to the president, although they say he has Jewish ancestry, is a white supremacist called Stephen Miller. When he was in college, he used to eat and he used to throw the wrapper down on the ground. And when somebody asked him about it, he said, let the immigrants pick it up.
Wow.
It's him, Rod Rosenstein, and Jeff Sessions, who's a segregationist. They came together and came up with that policy now of separating these Spanish children from their families and putting them in cages.
And some of them haven't, you know, found their parents yet, and they're lost.
Over 500, I think 35 or 75 of them. Why? First of all, here's my thing. I said it before. That's the kind of stuff Nazis did. Why would you separate children from their mother?
Yeah.
What is that all about? Why you want to know why? Because that's what white supremacy does. It wants to destroy the family of people of color. That's what happened during slavery. You use the black men to father the children while you raping his wife on the side, and then when you're ready, you sell his children. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
And you do all kind of heinous. And when we talk about, listen, truth is a very bitter pill to swallow. You're not going to be popular speaking the truth.
Nope.
Cowards are afraid to speak truth because they fear the backlash, so they go along with the status quo. Well, let me tell you something. I'm going to speak truth till the day I die. And if truth is going to be what's called me to give my life, greater than me have gave their lives. Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Patrice Lumumba in the Congo, greater than me have given their lives. And I would count it an honor if I had to forfeit my life fighting against white supremacy, because I would rather die fighting for justice than to live as a coward and a collaborator and a clown. I'm out.
Amen. But this is another topic that, well, we can say it real quick. Julius July Perry. Go ahead, Smalls. Give it to him real quick. Same thing you did.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. He was not allowed to vote, man. He actually was a native from South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to look it up, man, look up the Ocoee massacre in Ocoee, Florida.
Yeah.
Look it up. I'm gonna let you go ahead and look that up. It's a very heartwarming story, touching story.
Give me tell the name of it for me.
Ocoee, O-C-O-E-E.
It's named after that O-C-O. Hold on.
Ocoee, yeah.
It's named after an area, right?
Yeah, that's Ocoee, Florida.
Okay, Ocoee massacre. Here it is right here.
Right.
I'll give you the real quick rundown. A guy named July Perry was hung 3 days in town, and his body sat there 3 days hanging from a tree, and his left arm or right arm was mutilated. And they told the coroner, do not touch him. This just happened like in 1920, somewhere around Orlando, Florida.
It's here. It's
here.
Right.
Go ahead, Smalls.
Yeah. And what it is the only reason the massacre ever happened is because they was denying black folks to vote. That was it.
Right.
So you're going to massacre some people just because they want to vote?
Yeah, the part that got me was they hung his body 3 days in the street.
3 days.
3 days.
As a scare tactic and an example. Think about this for a moment. How did Colin Kaepernick protest?
Peacefully.
Yeah, but what was his physical action?
Taking a knee.
Yeah.
How was George Floyd killed?
Wow.
Yeah.
With that same knee.
Yeah.
It's to tell the rest of you, if you get out of line, this is what's going to happen to you. Do you know that Caucasians in the South used to take their children to lynching picnics?
Yes, I heard about that. Yes.
The woman that got reelected as senator of Mississippi against, I think his name is Mike Espy, a black guy. She said, I want a front row seat to a lynching.
Yeah, she did say that.
What I'm saying to the people listening to this is, how can decent, moral people stand for the resurfacing of this kind of racism and animus against people because of the color of their skin? Why don't we live up to the preamble to the Constitution that says we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness?
Right.
Is that only for certain people?
Right.
Is that not for all people? See, the hypocrisy is when certain people are in power, it's all about democracy. All of a sudden now, when the population demographics is changing now, and states are turning blue, and populations now are becoming more minority, then you'll hear senators like Mike Lee out of Utah saying, well, it's not about democracy. You see, because really what it's all about is hypocrisy. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Say as I do. In other words, when it benefits me, it's about democracy. When it benefits 13 colonies, we're going to go to war and kill the Redcoats, kill the British. We're going to do the Boston Tea Party, right? But at the very same time now, when individuals now are protesting for their rights and protesting against the brutalization of their family members and their friends unarmed, all of a sudden we're thugs.
That's correct.
All of a sudden we're rabble rousers. Listen, correct. We recognize your hypocrisy and we're not standing for it anymore. But the one thing I have to say to our people is we got to start now doing what we do economically. Now you'll hear the senator like Senator Tom Cotton out of Arkansas. He'll say, well, when they're talking about DC statehood now, he'll begin to talk about, look at the condition of these democratic cities. And you got some black people now parroting these same things. And then he'll bring up Marion Barry. Remember? He was, I believe, the mayor, I think, that was smoking crack. Yeah. So they'll say all that kind of stuff. And they'll say, show me like a city or area, where black people, well, let me introduce you to Black Wall Street in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
The first Wall Street, where you had doctors and lawyers in a thriving black community. What did the white supremacists do? They bombed it and they murder people. See, those people want to keep us subjugated so they can say, look and see, they can't run anything. Look at them. So even when you begin to run stuff now and it's successful, what do? They drop bombs on them.
Yeah.
Black Wall Street, thriving black middle class.
Yes.
What we got to do, we need economic empowerment. We need our dollars to stay in our community. We need to stop spending our money with people who take the money out of our community and not reinvest in our community. We cannot love other people more than we love ourselves. I'm not saying we dislike other people, but we got to begin to love who we are and respect one another and teach our kids that it ain't all about just getting a job. It's about starting a business.
Yep.
It's about taking care of your own community. You see what I'm saying? During the crack pandemic and the crack epidemic, black folks in the community should have got together and should have done something about it. They shouldn't have run to the government, because up to that point and beyond, the government had not shown that they were the ones who put the drugs in the neighborhood to begin with. How are you going to expect them to help you?
Yeah.
We have to stop running to other people for stuff that pertain to our community. We need our own hospitals. In Brooklyn, New York, the Hasidic Jews have their own hospital, have their own ambulances. We need our own hospitals. We need our own schools. We need our own facilities, our own television station, our own radio program. Chinese people got their Chinatown. Other people got their thing. We have to wake up, because we're integrated into a system where a large segment of 70 million people voted for white supremacists.
Yeah.
We got to think about that.
Yeah.
You got to think about that. For whatever motive that they voted for him, they voted for a man who's divisive, who disrespects people, who eggs on people to beat people and to shoot people. 70 million people voted for a man like that. And I'm going to tell you something. That may be the reason why America became the epicenter of the coronavirus. It might be a warning to the nation. Stop vilifying people. God does not like that kind of nonsense. And I'm not even going to mention these evangelicals again. I'm going to leave that alone.
As always, it's been a pleasure. We enjoyed you, and the eagle has landed. Let's talk to the tree. Was very good. Hey, put your book up there one more time, man.
Listen, maximum respect to Leander and my other brother T. Smalls. Listen, I know what I said is controversial, but I just believe there's an existential threat to people, especially people of color. It's
Right.
life and death. You have sons, you have daughters, you have granddaughters, you have great-granddaughters and great-grandsons. You want them to be able to go out, do their business without being shot down like an animal. We shouldn't have to be telling our black males to cower and to subjugate themselves when a police officer pulls them over. We shouldn't have to do that. And we got to stand up against any system and any individual that begins to propagate this type of stuff and disseminate information that becomes a direct threat to us as a people. We got to do it. It don't make us racist. It don't make us hate. No, 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 no. We have a right to stand up against oppression, to stand up against racism. This is your boy, Brother Fidel, a.k.a. the Bald Eagle. Thank God for this program. Support it. Share it.
That eagle was on fire tonight. What you think, T. Smalls?
Hey, man, it's always truth and knowledge, bro. I'm always learning something new, man. When Pastor Fidel comes on the scene, man, for real, the eagle has landed.
Well, I'm honored, man. Listen, I'm like I said, I'm grateful for the platform because a lot of individuals are not going to allow you to share these particular, and that's why I gave the disclaimer. These views are mine. They don't necessarily reflect my brother's views.
Right.
I don't have a problem with people disagreeing with me, but when you come, you better come straight, and you better come with facts.
Right.
I want to give a shout out to you and your sister Nina, because you lost your mother a couple of days ago in New York. I was
yeah.
Oh man, my condolences. Condolences.
Yeah. Thank you. She was a great woman. You know, we in mourning, but this was such an important platform, right? Because you understand, Trump is not just a man; he represents a movement.
Right.
So even though he's out of office, the mentality is still there. So we got to fight against that kind of mentality that seeks to divide and conquer people. So even though I got the news and I think after midnight on Saturday that my precious mom passed away, there's no way I was going to miss this opportunity to come on and to address issues that I think are very, very serious issues affecting not only the Black community, but also other communities. Because anytime these cities on fire, it doesn't help white people. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help Spanish people. Right? Because a house divided against itself, Yeshua said, cannot stand. It can't stand. We don't have to agree on everything. The problem is we can't be propagating hatred because we disagree. And that's what Donald Trump brought to the table for 4 years. And again, I'm asking you evangelicals, if God hired him in 2016, does that mean in 2020 God fired him? And don't give me that nonsense about election is rigged. If you ain't got no proof of that, shut your mouth. Because when the fox can't get the grape, he said it's sour anyway.
I like that. That's pretty tight, right? I'm going to give you my word, man. I am going to buy that book this week.
Yo, T. Smalls, yo.
I'm going to get it this week.
Represent, yo. In the King's Prison, a journey of divine freedom. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah.
People from England, they say it's smashing up the place, yo, because you know what? It's raw and it's real. And y'all got to help me push it.
I want to do it.
Yeah, help me push it. Y'all listen, y'all, share this broadcast, support this program, because this is a real program. No stuff. They bring it and they bring it real. Because if they didn't, the Bald Eagle wouldn't be on it. No program where I can't speak truth. I'm not
Right.
even going on it. You can't pay me $1 million
Right.
to go on any program where listen. I was interviewed by Zachary Timms when I wrote a book called Don't Birth an Ishmael in the Waiting Room. God rest his soul. And I'm sitting there with him, TB, and there are millions of people viewing. And he's asking me questions. I just looked in the camera and says, yo, when my wife used to witness to me, I used to say, get out of here with that white man's religion. Fools go to church on Sunday. I said, that blonde-haired, blue-eyed white man, he can't be God because he looked like the people that's chasing me and calling me nigger.
Wow.
Yes, I did. You think I was worried about them inviting me back? I wanted them to know reality. We ain't selling out, yo. We're not new to this. You know, 16 years old, the police shot at me and my friend in New York City because we were throwing some pebbles at a window trying to get some girls' attention, and then lied and said we pulled a knife on them. They didn't have cell phone cameras at the time. If they had gotten away with it, I wouldn't be here today. That's why I say I got to stand against racism, even if it's in the police department. I ain't never going to stop crying out against it as long as I got breath blowing in my body. And I don't care who you are. If you're standing with racists, if you're coddling them, I already told you what you are, so I ain't even gonna repeat it again.
Right. We had a good time, everybody. Before we conclude, Mr. Fidel, could you give us a prayer real quick, sir?
Yeah. Father, in the mighty name of Yeshua, your Mashiach, Sidkenu, the Lord God, our righteousness, I bless you on tonight, for you are God of truth, you're a God of righteousness, you're a God of justice, you're not a God of lying, you're a God that loves the poor. I bless my brother Leander. I bless T. Smalls. I bless this program of just kicking it under the tree. I pray for this great nation, the United States of America. It is a flawed nation like other nations, but it is a great nation because it provides opportunity. And I pray that people that love righteousness and justice would stand up. And like Dr. Martin Luther King said, judge people according to the content of their character and not the color of their skin. We're not against police, Lord. We're not against anybody. We want justice and we want fairness in the United States of America for everybody, irrespective of their creed, their color, their ethnicity. Bless everyone that watches this, even the people who disagree with me. I ask you to bless them. I'm not asking everybody to agree with me. I'm just asking them to ask themselves whether or not I have spoken truth, whether they like it or not. I bless my brothers tonight in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach Sidkenu, the Lord God, our righteousness, and we just signify by saying amen.
Amen.
That was fire, man. We love you as always.
I'm writing a men's book now.
Oh, good. So we got to talk about that, whenever.
Yeah.
You get
listen, I love you brothers, man.
We love you too, man.
Hey, man.
Maximum
we got much love, man. You speak the truth.
Respect, man. Maximum
you speak the truth. You speak knowledge, and that's what the people need to hear, man.
I just feel like I go to places to minister, man, and I got people like in the audience who are like, you could tell they gangsters, man. And when I stand up and I share my testimony about smuggling and gun running and stuff like that, they walk over to me and they say, you know what? We respect you and we'll listen to you because you're not afraid to tell us where you're coming from. We shall know the truth and the truth shall make us free. We got to stop living a lie in the United States of America. And like my son said, everybody else got reparations. Black folks need our reparations too.
That's correct. And I seen a stat from the 90s. I think the Asians got 20 to 25,000 apiece. And it's a fact. That is correct.
The black man last to be hired, first to be fired.
Right.
And it was built on the backs of black people.
Yes.
So now they got these other nationalities coming over here now believing the hype. This Asian guy, these two black dudes were filming his community, and he gonna have the nerve to say this is a nigger-free zone.
Wow. Yeah, I seen that.
Hundreds of years before one person looking like him was over here, black folks was over here.
Yes.
Free labor for this country, and that's what these people do. They cause individuals now who want to be part of the status quo to begin to disrespect black. Well, yo, check this out. Out of this color can come every other color on the planet. This color. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you trace genetically and go all the way back, you find that the first person came out of the continent of Africa, and all other nations were birthed out of that person. Yeah. You understand? The black man is the original man, and he should get respect. And we got to stand against any people by any name, rank, or order who want to disrespect us. Blacks built this country before the Italians came, before the Irish came, before the Jews came, before the Australians came, before the English came, and a lot of other people. It was black folks who labored as slaves and built this country. And then these folks turned around now and wanted to sick dogs on them, depriving them of their right to vote, lynching them. And you think that we're just going to stand around and tolerate that madness? We're not coons. We're not house Negroes. We are not Sambos. We are soldiers.
You heard it from the best. The eagle has landed, just like Mr. T. Small said. Stay on the air when we get off about 30 seconds to a minute. We love everybody. Don't forget to wear your mask. Stay safe as possible from the coronavirus because, you know, the cases is rising. Smalls, you got anything to say in closing?
Hey, peace, love, and soul.
We'll holler at y'all later. Y'all have a good week.